If you think that the GMAT is unusual, strange, or hands down weird at times, you are not alone. In many ways, the GMAT is unlike any test you have taken in school or college. To do well on the GMAT, you will need to customize your thought patterns and behaviors for the test. In the next 7 minutes, I will demonstrate several nuances and behaviors which will help you break through score barriers on the GMAT's Quant section. This is day 14 of my GMAT Prep. I will continue to practice problems from the Quant section of the GMAT in line with my study plan. On day 13, we had touched upon the principle of writing things down and also the extended principle, stay organized. Both my accuracy and velocity had taken a hit on day 13 compared to my performance on day 12. From my perspective, a part of it was also because the questions I was solving on day 13 felt meaningfully harder than the questions I solved on day 12 on average. Today I am hoping to be able to attack two sets of 23 questions each. Let's see how things pan out today. First, I will be solving questions 4, 14, 24 up to 224. And then I will solve questions 5, 15, 25 up to 225. All question numbers I have mentioned refer to the Quant section of the GMAT official guide version 2023-24. When speaking about the questions, I will talk in generalities, but you can also look at the question yourself in case you have access to the guide. At the end, I will call out my key learnings as well as some recommendations for your GMAT prep. Let's get going. Alright, so that was about 2.5 hours in total. As I had mentioned earlier, I solved 2 practice sets in that time frame. First, let's talk about practice set 4, which is questions 4, 14, and so on up to question number 224 from the GMAT official guide. It took me 60 minutes in total to solve this set of 23 questions. I answered 22 of those questions correctly and 1 incorrectly. Of the 22 questions that I answered correctly, I had to skip a couple of them on the first pass. I returned to those 2 questions at the end and was able to crack an approach to solve them through. These were questions 34 and 214 from the GMAT official guide version 2023-24. The question which I answered incorrectly on the first pass was question number 144. I reattempted this question after the initial 60-minute practice session and was able to answer it right. This was an approximation question. Looking at my notes, the mistake I made the first time around was making an approximation at the wrong step. The output of this question was a fraction. I approximated a numerator to calculate the final answer instead of calculating the fraction out and then doing the approximation. Now, obviously, you will see GMAT solutions where the former approach is recommended on an approximation question and things work out perfectly fine. This question in my mind is just one demonstration of why you need to have a single, consistent way of solving GMAT problems that may not always be in line with the particular solution recommended against a question in the GMAT official guide. If you have been following me through my GMAT prep, you would have noticed the meaningful jump in accuracy versus some of my recent sessions. But that was accompanied by a significant jump in the time taken to solve 23 questions as well. The reason for both the jump in accuracy and velocity is actually the same. Today, I was taking and organizing notes very liberally throughout this practice set. In fact, if I were to quickly scroll through some of the notes, I actually think that I could use these for teaching. Usually when you're teaching, your notes need to be super clear so that anybody that is following along is able to see every step that you're taking. I was clearly going for a high level of clarity in my notes during this practice set, and I think that worked out well. There were 2 other reasons why it took me so much time to solve 23 questions during this set. First, on multiple occasions, I actually found myself re-verifying each of the answers that I was arriving at. Subconsciously, I think I was just being careful and conservative given the disastrous accuracy I had on the practice set on day 13 of my prep. Second, the fact that I had to reattempt 2 questions after the first pass definitely did not help. But I was forced to do that because I just couldn't think of a way to crack those problems on the first try. The solution there is to continue gaining wider exposure to GMAT problems so that my short-term memory has a greater number of potential solutioning approaches to pick from when I'm attacking cracking a GMAT problem. After I was done with practice set 4, I took a quick walk break for about 10 minutes. Then I got back to my desk for practice set 5. Practice set 5 basically consists of questions 5, 15 and so on up to question 225 from the GMAT official guide. On this practice set, I made a conscious choice to reduce the instances where I was rechecking my answers after having solved a problem in one go. I did find myself doing that on a couple occasions, but wherever I was self-aware that I was going through that behavior, I consciously stopped myself and moved on to the next question. This sounds like a trivial point, but it actually led to a major improvement in my performance metrics. Overall, this set also consisted of 23 questions. I was actually able to solve all of them in 35 minutes. Not only that, I actually answered all of them correctly in a single go. Some of that may be because of the difference in the content of questions on this practice set versus the previous practice set. But in addition to that, you can clearly see how much of a difference a simple change in mindset can make to your performance. My velocity obviously improved significantly, but my focus today was still accuracy. So I'm happy that overall I did well on both the practice sets. On practice set 5 as well, my notes were actually very clear, very well organized and easy to follow. That summarizes my key learnings from the practice sets today. There is one thought that I want to leave you with. One of the biggest dangers on the quant section of the GMAT is running out of scratch space in the middle of solving a question. Ideally, you want to be able to solve a question end to end without turning a page. So even if you are giving the test at a GMAT test center and have the multi-page scratch pad to use, you can easily get yourself in trouble if you misjudge how much space will be needed to solve a question end to end. If you are giving the test from home, this problem magnifies by magnitudes. This is because you are going to be dealing with very limited scratch space. It has to do with GMAT's requirements around using a whiteboard under a certain size if you're taking the test from home. Of course, we will have to work with those constraints and find a way to achieve the accuracy and velocity that we need to get to our target score. So think about that as you prep for the GMAT, and don't forget to take walk breaks between practice sessions. Remember to hit like, subscribe and bell before you go, and you can even write a small note for me in the comments. Just so you know, I only accept notes of admiration and ignore everything else. So make sure to bring out your best liar in the comments. If you have any questions, click on the Ask Me Anything link in the video description. You can also check out the several free resources that are linked at different points in this video as well as in the video description below. I will catch you in the next video.